You're being scored right now, even if you never signed up. Most people never realize it's happening. Because the system doesn't announce itself. There's no form to fill out. No number you're shown. No moment where someone says, this is the score that will follow you. Every system you interact with builds a profile of you. Not just who you are, but how you behave, what you click, what you ignore, what you finish, and what you abandon. And that profile becomes a prediction. And that prediction becomes a score. Not a score of worth, but a score of likelihood. The score doesn't decide what you deserve. It decides what you're likely to respond to. And once the system believes it understands you, it quietly adjusts what you see, what you're offered, and which opportunities ever reach you at all. Not because one person is better than another, but because past behavior trains the system to invest more confidence, more resources, and more options in one direction, while narrowing them in another. Most people think scores begin and end with credit. Because that's the visible version, the one you're allowed to see, manage, and argue with. But behind that familiar number are quieter systems watching behavior instead of statements, actions instead of intentions, and patterns instead of promises. Intentions don't scale in modern systems, but behavior does. Which is why algorithms pay attention to what people consistently do rather than what they say. They plan to do, tracking, repeat actions, timing, follow-through, and patterns that can be measured and compared. Over time, these systems build confidence in their predictions, reinforcing what they already believe about you, narrowing what you're shown, and quietly looping the same signals back into the score until it begins to feel less like a judgment and more like a fixed reality. This is why two people can work just as hard and still move in completely different directions, because once the system starts reinforcing itself, effort matters less than alignment. And access begins to depend on whether your past behavior matches what the system already expects from you. The most unsettling part is that the system doesn't need to be fair to function. It only needs to be accurate enough to keep predicting you. Because once it believes it understands you, it stops exploring alternatives and starts optimizing around the version of you it already knows. The system isn't trying to trap you, it's trying to reduce uncertainty. And the only way it knows how to do that is by feeding you more of what already fits. Which means change becomes harder, not because you're incapable, but because the system has stopped testing who you could become. By the time you notice the pattern, the system has already learned what holds your attention, what you repeat, and what you ignore, quietly shaping what appears on your screen so that the outcome feels familiar rather than surprising. Because the system isn't what you're looking at, it's what's looking at you, watching your inputs, confirming its expectations, and delivering the same results again and again. Over time, this doesn't show up as a warning or a denial. It shows up as repetition. The same kinds of jobs, the same offers, the same content, the same limits, until you start wondering why things never seem to change. Even though you are trying, because what's actually happening is that the system has learned who you've been, decided what usually works on you, and quietly stopped showing you anything that doesn't fit that version. The truth is, the system doesn't lock you in all at once. It locks you in slowly, by responding to what you repeat, reinforcing what you engage with, and narrowing what it thinks you want. Which means the only way anything changes is when your behavior changes in ways the system can't predict. The system does not care about what you want, what you plan to do, or how motivated you feel. Different outcomes only appear when you deliberately disrupt patterns it has already grown confident about. What matters isn't breaking the system or escaping it overnight. What matters is realizing that every interaction teaches it something about you. Every pause, every click, every choice either confirms what it already believes or introduces something new. You don't regain control by fighting the system. You regain it by becoming intentional about what you feed it. Because the moment your behavior stops matching its expectations, the system has to adjust. And that's where possibility quietly re-enters the picture.